Today, we are diving into a scientific mystery that, honestly, it flips decades of nutritional advice on its head. And it all kicks off with one simple but really important question.
You've heard it a million times, right? Sugar and carbs, they're the bad guys behind insulin resistance and all sorts of chronic diseases. But what if that's not the whole story? What if there's another major cause, one that has absolutely nothing to do with sugar? Yeah, you heard that right, dolphins. I know it sounds completely out there, but trust me, the clues that unraveled this entire puzzle were found in the most unexpected of places. So let's dive in.
Okay, so our story starts with the US Navy. They have this large population of dolphins, and thanks to great care, they're living longer than ever. But with that longer life came some very familiar, very human-like diseases. Researchers were totally stumped. About 1 out of every 3 older dolphins was showing signs of things like insulin resistance, chronic inflammation, even fatty liver disease. And what's so wild is that these are the exact same conditions that, in humans, we almost always blame on a bad diet full of, well, you know. And here is the absolute kicker, the thing that blew this whole case wide open. The dolphins' diet? It was 100% fish, no carbs, no sugar, zero. Suddenly, the usual suspect had a rock-solid alibi. This sent scientists on a frantic hunt for a totally different answer.
So to crack this mystery, the scientists brought in the big guns. They used this cutting-edge technology called metabolomics. Think of it like a super high-tech scanner that can see thousands of different molecules inside the body all at once.
And then they found it, a single molecule that was the key. It was crystal clear. The healthy, thriving dolphins had really high levels of this one thing. And the sick dolphins, they were all running on empty. That molecule was an odd-chain saturated fatty acid called pentadecanoic acid, or as we'll call it, C15. Now, this was a massive shock. A saturated fat, one of the things we've been told for decades to stay away from, was actually linked to good health. C15 is now seen as the first essential fatty acid to be discovered in over 90 years. And essential means our bodies have to have it, but they can't make enough of it on their own. And what's its main job? To keep our cells strong and stable.
So, what exactly happens when we don't get enough C15? Let's zoom in right down to the cellular level and look at the crime scene to see how this one deficiency can cause so much damage.
I want you to picture your cells like a tiny armored fortress. C15 acts like the strong, sturdy bricks in the fortress, keeping it stable and protecting it from attack. But when you don't have enough of these C15 bricks, that wall starts to get weak, fragile. And this weakness unleashes a really nasty process.
A process called ferroptosis. Now, this was only just discovered back in 2012. It's a particularly destructive type of cell death that's triggered by fragile cell membranes. When those weak cells break apart, they spill out iron, which causes this huge storm of oxidative stress, killing the cell and literally speeding up the aging process. Scientists knew ferroptosis was connected to diseases like type 2 diabetes and fatty liver. They just didn't know what was causing it. Until now.
It turns out a C15 deficiency is a major trigger. So here's the domino effect. It starts with not enough C15, which leads to fragile cells, especially our red blood cells. They start to break down way too early. This floods the liver with excess iron. And that combination, too much iron plus weak cell membranes, is the perfect storm that kicks off ferroptosis, leading to this wave of cellular self-destruction all over the body.
So this is the main event right here. The big takeaway. Not all saturated fats are created equal. In fact, C15 has an even-chained cousin, C16, which is found in things like palm oil. And C16 is pro-inflammatory and linked to disease. But C15, the odd-chain fat, does the complete opposite. It's anti-inflammatory and it makes our cells stronger. This just completely upends that old, simplistic, all-saturated fat is bad story.
Okay, so now we get the problem. We understand the mechanism. But this begs the question, how did we and the dolphins become so deficient in this crucial nutrient in the first place? Well, this timeline tells a pretty shocking story. Check this out. In 1977, U.S. dietary guidelines officially told everyone to cut way back on whole-fat dairy, a key source of C15. Just 3 years later, doctors reported the very first cases of non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. Coincidence? Well, around the same time, in the 90s, the Navy's fish supply for the dolphins accidentally shifted to lower-fat fish, and that's when their health problems started. It's an incredible parallel, a tale of two species, one shared and devastating deficiency.
So how do we fix this? Well, the answer isn't some weird, complicated supplement. It's in whole foods. Specifically, whole-fat dairy products like butter, certain aged cheeses like Pecorino, and full-fat yogurt. You can also find it in some fatty fish, especially the parts we tend to throw away, like the skin and heads, and, of course, in grass-fed red meat. And where your food comes from really matters. Just look at this. Studies show that milk from cows that eat grass contains twice as much C15 as milk from cows fed on a typical corn-based diet. So yeah, choosing grass-fed can literally double your intake of this essential nutrient. So what's the goal? For optimal health, research suggests we want C15 to make up at least 0.4% of our total circulating fatty acids. The scary part? The average person today is hovering around just 0.2%, putting us right on that threshold for cellular fragility. But C15 isn't just about avoiding a deficiency. It gets better. The latest science is pointing to something even more profound. It suggests C15 might be a powerful tool, not just for extending our lifespan, but our health span, the number of healthy, vibrant years we get to live. Scientists are now using this really cool term for C15. They're calling it a geroprotector. It's a member of a very exclusive club of molecules that have been shown to actually slow down the fundamental rate of aging at the cellular level. And it does this by activating some key pathways in our body. Okay, this is where it gets truly mind-bending. When you put C15 head-to-head with some of the biggest names in longevity drugs, you see something incredible. C15 activates a pathway called AMP, just like the diabetes drug metformin. It also inhibits mTRO, another famous aging pathway, similar to the drug rapamycin. But, and this is the amazing part, C15 has a superpower that neither of those drugs has. It directly stabilizes our cell membranes to stop ferroptosis. It essentially combines the benefits of two blockbuster drugs and then adds its own unique critical function on top. And that potential is why some of the top scientists in the world are making these incredibly bold statements. After reviewing all the available evidence, a leading researcher with the NIH's Longevity Consortium concluded, and I'm quoting here, "There's no other molecule that has stronger support as being a longevity-enhancing molecule than C15. Wow. But at the end of the day, this whole discovery isn't just about one molecule or a new pill. It's a huge wake-up call to re-examine our collective fear of certain fats and to question the old advice that might have accidentally made us sick. The real building blocks for a longer, healthier life might have been hiding in plain sight in our food this whole time. Which leaves us with one last big, provocative question to chew on. The story of C15 proves that the book on nutrition is far from finished. And it really makes you wonder, if we were so wrong for so long about this one essential fat, what other profound truths about our health are still out there, just waiting to be discovered?